Imagine this. You go to buy a new smartphone, but the price has suddenly doubled. You are waiting for your new electric car, but the delivery is delayed by months. Why? Because the two biggest nations on Earth are locked in a vicious shadow war. The screen flashes images of microchips, stacks of global currencies, and colliding cargo containers instead of traditional fighter jets. Serious portraits of the US and Chinese presidents appear side by side. Narrator dialogue. This conflict isn't being fought on physical borders. This is a silent world war. A war fought inside manufacturing plants, central banks, and advanced supercomputers. Large text flashes dramatically on the screen. China versus USA. The economic war. The background music intensifies. Narrator dialogue. Today, in 2026, this battle has reached its most critical turning point. On one side is America, fighting to protect its global dominance. On the other side is China, pushing with all its might to become the world's next superpower. But the ultimate question is, who is actually winning this war? Let's break it down. Tariffs and tech bans. A digital map appears, splitting the globe into two distinct spheres. The camera zooms in on an ultra-close-up shot of a microchip with cyberpunk-style graphics. Narrator dialogue. The ultimate weapon in this modern war is not a missile. It is a tiny microchip. Without this small piece of silicon, your smartphone, your car, and the world's advanced AI supercomputers cannot function. Imagine this. You go to buy a new smartphone, but the price has suddenly doubled. You are waiting for your new electric car, but the delivery is delayed by months.
And the absolute epicenter of this semiconductor empire is a tiny island, Taiwan. The map highlights Taiwan, transitioning to real footage of a TSMC fabrication facility. A 3D model of a Dutch ASML lithography machine rotates on screen. Narrator dialogue. Washington knows that if Beijing masterminds advanced chips independently, China will eclipse America in both AI capabilities and military hardware. To stop this, the US weaponized severe tech bans. The US pressured a Dutch company named ASML, the sole manufacturer of the world's most advanced chip-making machinery, to completely halt the sale of its top-tier equipment to China. Visual/director notes.
Today,
the NVIDIA corporate logo flashes, overlaid with digital copies of restrictive policy documents from the U.S. Department of Commerce. Furthermore, America banned the export of NVIDIA's most powerful AI graphics processors to starve China's artificial intelligence development. But did China grind to a halt? Not at all. A teardown animation of the Huawei Mate 60 Pro transitions into visuals of China's newest localized processor architectures. China took these restrictions as an industrial challenge. They poured hundreds of billions of dollars into their domestic ecosystem. The world was left stunned when Chinese tech firms successfully manufactured 7nm and 5nm chips entirely in-house. America tried to block the road, but China simply built a new highway. The revolt, the rise of BRICS, and de-dollarization. A visual of a massive US dollar bill slowly burning away. The screen shifts to a global map highlighting the BRICS nations: Brazil, Russia, India, China, South Africa, and its newest members. America's greatest strength isn't just its military power. It is the dominance of the US dollar. Over 80% of global trade is settled in dollars. If Washington is displeased with a country, it cuts them off from the global SWIFT banking system using sanctions. They did exactly that to Russia. A crisp close-up of Chinese yuan RMB banknotes, transitioning into a fast-motion time-lapse of the Shanghai Stock Exchange. However, China is now leading a massive financial revolt against this dollar-dominated system. This movement is called de-dollarization. Beijing is actively urging the global south to bypass the greenback and trade directly in Chinese yuan. China, Russia, Saudi Arabia, and Brazil have already cleared billions of dollars in trade completely independent of the US dollar. Visual/director notes. Footage from recent BRICS summits showing world leaders shaking hands. An infographic chart illustrates a steady, gradual decline of the US dollar's share in global foreign exchange reserves. Narrator dialogue. The primary vehicle for this financial rebellion is BRICS, a coalition that keeps expanding its ranks. By positioning itself as the anchor of this group, China is constructing an alternative financial architecture. If global reliance on the dollar continues to erode, America's economic leverage over the world will vanish. In 2026, this trend has become Washington's biggest geopolitical headache. The Green War, EVs and rare earth elements. Visual/director notes. Sleek, futuristic electric vehicles speed down a highway. The BYD emblem replaces the shot, followed by a graphical side-by-side comparison with a Tesla vehicle. Narrator dialogue. Let's pivot to the future of transportation. The global economy is rapidly transitioning away from internal combustion engines to electric vehicles, EVs. In this crucial arena, China has already seized a massive lead. The Chinese automotive giant BYD disrupted international markets by mass-producing highly affordable, premium EVs, sending shockwaves through Elon Musk's Tesla. Visual/director notes. B-roll of industrial mining facilities. A digital periodic table highlights rare earth elements, such as lithium, cobalt, and neodymium. Clips of Western leaders announcing heavy import tariffs play. Narrator dialogue. But here is the real kicker. China controls over 70% of the extraction and refining capacity for the rare earth elements required to manufacture EV batteries. No matter how hard America or Europe try to decouple, their green transition relies entirely on Chinese raw materials. Terrified of this monopoly, the US and the European Union slapped massive 100% tariffs on Chinese EV imports to protect domestic automakers. Yet, this defensive move primarily hurts Western consumers, who are now forced to pay much higher prices for green tech. The music shifts to a highly dramatic cinematic climax. A side-by-side comparison table summarizing the strategic advantages of both nations appears on screen. Narrator dialogue. So, at this pivotal moment in 2026, who is actually winning this global economic titan fight? Visual/director notes. A sweeping drone shot of the US Capitol building and the Washington, D.C. skyline. Narrator dialogue. Looking at the short-term indicators, the United States still commands the world's reserve currency and dominates the foundational software, cloud computing, and intellectual property driving the tech sector. Visual/director notes. An automated, high-tech manufacturing facility in Shanghai, China. Narrator dialogue. But observing the long-term structural trends, China holds an incredibly strong hand. They successfully bypassed Western chip sanctions, locked down the global green energy supply chain, and rallied a growing bloc of nations ready to move away from the US financial system. This conflict will either end with the economic destabilization of one side, or it will fracture the global economy into two distinct trading blocs, an American sphere and a Chinese sphere. Visual/director notes. The heavy background music slowly fades out. Bold text appears on screen. What do you think? A slick animation of a scrolling YouTube comment section plays. Narrator dialogue. What do you think? Will China completely surpass the United States to become the world's undisputed economic king? Or will America pull off a strategic masterstroke to maintain its crown? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. If you enjoyed this deep dive, make sure to hit the like button and subscribe. See you in the next video.